I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Francis Bellamy, a Baptist minister, wrote the original pledge in August 1892. It was adopted by Congress in 1942. In 1954, Congress passed a bill which was signed into law and add the words "under God." Recently in Indiana, a bill was passed requiring schools to invite kids to say the Pledge of Allegiance every morning in school. In this video, we debate the issue if the pledge should be said in public schools.
Well, I am in favor of the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't think that there is anything wrong with it. By the same token, I think that it should be voluntary. The reason that I think it should be voluntary, some people might think pledging an allegiance to a country is not voluntary. Maybe it's forced upon them, that then you are taking away their freedom of speech to use it or not to use it. I think it's so strange that somebody would live in a country and not pledge an allegiance to it if they have the freedom to speak and they have the freedom to leave this country. Then maybe if they don't want to pledge an allegiance to the country they live in, they maybe should leave. But that is my opinion only, and since I have the freedom of speech, I expressed it.
I've just always been a firm believer if you live in a country, especially one as great as ours, you take part in it, and I just feel like it's that important.
I think it's fine to say the Pledge of Allegiance in school, but I think the important thing is that in the United States we have a First Amendment which gives us freedom of speech, and that means the freedom not to say something if you don't want to. So I think it's important that students or anybody in a public area where you might say the pledge can feel the ability to express their own desire not to say the pledge. Now, in America that's very few people, but the important thing about the United States system and our democracy is we have a constitution that protects the rights of the minorities. That means people who think differently than the rest of us. Maybe people look differently than the rest of us. And so it's important that we have rules in place that allow people to say, no, I prefer not to say the pledge for whatever reason.
Whoever came up with the original idea, it's an excellent pledge. It's part of our American tradition. I see it as serving us well for many years. Unfortunately, we nowadays take a different view where we try to be politically correct, not offend anyone, and let's face it, no matter what you do, somebody's not going to like it, and I blame both parties for this.
I do think it's every American's duty to pledge allegiance to their country, and to do it formally and publicly in front of each other, I think shows affirmation of our faith in ourselves, in our friends, in our community, in our country, in our school. So yes, I do believe that the Pledge of Allegiance should be recited. I also believe in people's rights, and if somebody doesn't want to stand and make the pledge, I don't think they should be forced to stand and make a pledge. I think they should be respectful of us others that fully want to participate.
Well, I believe the Pledge of Allegiance is a very valuable, not only educational tool, but it's who we are as a country, and it needs to be respected.
So I think we just all need to be Americans, be proud we're Americans.
Sometimes it gets tricky in school because there's a lot of pressure, right? If you stand up in your class and say, I just don't feel like saying the Pledge of Allegiance today, people might think you're strange or might think you're unpatriotic or you don't love America. And so that's why some people raise concerns about having required Pledge of Allegiance in our schools, because people might not want to say it, and if they exercise their First Amendment right to say, I choose not to pledge to the flag, then people might pressure them and say bad things about them and think that they're unpatriotic.
I think our founding fathers would expect us to be saying the pledge in public schools.
I think the main thing I have against it is it just has this sense of trying to brainwash our kids without really thinking about what they're saying. I think there's better ways to teach citizenship.
I think that it should be entirely up to the student whether they recite it or not, or whether they even stand during the Pledge of Allegiance, because there's certain messages found within the Pledge of Allegiance that I think are somewhat controversial. So it's entirely up to the student whether he or she wants to be able to recite it or not.
I, as a parent, have a right to make sure she goes to a public school and not be indoctrinated with any religion, much less religion that is completely antithetical to what I believe.
But was there a personal aspect in that your feeling was that every day in school, your daughter was being told her dad is wrong?
Exactly. But she shouldn't be, even if they were telling her that, atheism is correct, I would object. Government has no right to be involved in this, telling children or telling anyone what's correct in terms of religious belief. Justice Scalia, he himself says so. He says that government may not lend its power to one or the other side in controversies over religious dogma.
Instead of requiring students say it every morning, I think I would spend a little bit of time every morning discussing what it means to be a citizen of this country and why it's important that we cooperate and support American values.
Well, first of all, there's a choice. They shouldn't be forced to say that they don't want to, and I do recognize the problem with apathy and lack of patriotism in the country. However, I'm not sure that a Pledge of Allegiance is going to help eliminate the apathy or to gain any more patriotism within the country when we say it every single day. Second, I think that it's lost some meaning, and that when it's said every single day and students are forced to stand, that I'm not sure that it's fulfilling its purpose. Also, in terms of the really controversial messages is the term under God that was added after the original Pledge of Allegiance was created. And as a teacher, when I have to teach about different religions and about how some religions have multiple gods, when the term under God is used, it's definitely implying a monotheistic religion, keeping out any type of polytheistic religion or the belief in many gods. Additionally, if someone doesn't believe in a God, those people are feeling alienated. So I definitely don't think that a student should have to say something if they don't agree with that statement. And finally, I'm really concerned by the statement with liberty and justice for all, because I certainly feel like in this country that certain groups of people do not have liberty and do not have justice.
But it sure doesn't seem very American to me to be forced to say something without thinking about it.
I think we should, because after all these things America's been through with the wars and the fighting and everything, I think the Pledge of Allegiance is sort of just like a way to say thank you for it. Like, we're just saying that we're true to our country, basically, that we'll stick with it. Like, we're not going to, be a traitor or something like that. It's just, to me, it's just sort of, just a thank you.
Yeah, I think they should be required to say the pledge when we do it in the mornings, because it's respecting all the people who have fought for us to be in the country we are and have all the rights that we do. And some people don't realize how lucky we are to be living in America and how lucky we are to have all the rights that we do have. And when we say the pledge, we're just honoring all those who have brought us where we are today.
I don't think they should be required to, because some kids who say it don't really know what it means, and they just say it because we're supposed to say it and stand up and be quiet. But if we have to say it, we should discuss why we say it.
I think it's good to say the pledge because I have a grandpa that was in the World War II, so I think it's good for people to just stand up and say the pledge, because a lot of people died in World War II and World War I.
I think that we should say the Pledge of Allegiance because your grandfather or your great-grandfather might have died, and if you say Pledge of Allegiance, it shows that you're showing respect or that you love them. And people that don't, they're don't respect others and don't respect themselves.
Well, I don't necessarily feel that it should be banned. I just feel that it shouldn't be required in schools.
I think they should have to recite it because as we've gone on through years of our schooling, we've always had to recite it, and it was just a show of respect for our country and what our country has given to us, and I think it shouldn't change now.